So there's no way in hell that that's focused. Okay. Hey guys, what is up? It's Audrey, and today we are talking about how I bought my very own car at 16, kind of like the story behind it and like a little bit of some tips and tricks on how you can do it yourself. There's going to be timestamps in the description if you're here for just a certain part of the video. Go ahead, check down there. I don't want to bore you guys for too long. Anyways, let's hop right into it. So I actually have made a car tour of the car I'm going to be talking about in this video. It's up on my channel. It's of my yellow bug. Link in the description for that too. Go check that out. Watch that before you watch this, or else it's not going to make as much sense. Here's the story of how I came to meet that car. It started out my junior year of high school. I'm young. I just barely turned 16 this summer of my sophomore year. So like all my friends had already been driving like their sophomore year, and I had to wait, and then finally my junior year I could drive. My parents let me use their car, which is a Prius. Yeah, anyways, so I was driving the Prius, and yeah, it's all good and dandy. Parents let me use a car, like that's great, that's amazing, everything was great. Yeah, until I found out there was a tracker in it. Come junior year, I'm driving to school, driving to lunch, like driving to friends' houses, and my parents are just really protective. My use of the car started getting like really strict, and I was like, okay. So I never missed a class, and come my junior year, I started missing class more. Okay, a lot. I started missing class a lot. And my parents automatically assumed that's because I would rather just be driving around wasting my own gas than sleeping in class. Yeah, it wasn't fucking true. Basically, I was actually like hella depressed and just couldn't go to school, but that's a whole different story time. Anyways, they basically ended up taking the car away from me. Like they took the keys, I was no longer allowed to drive. So at this point, I had to have my friends literally drive me to school. I was asking for rides to work. Like it was a mess. It was a total complete mess. And obviously when you keep asking your friends to drive you around places, they're gonna start getting annoyed of you and they're not gonna like you anymore, which happened to be exactly what happened. So woo! I wasn't able to get to school. I was having like the hardest time of my life. It was honestly like such a like lesson I've learned that year of high school that sucked so bad. But I decided I was like, you know what? I have to buy my own car. I don't care if I just turned 16 like 3 months ago, like I have to buy my own car. So for the next like 3 days, anywhere I was on KSL. I was looking through listings. And as you can probably assume, my budget was very low because I'm a teenager and I don't have a lot of money. And then finally, one faithful day, I landed across a listing for a 2002 yellow bug. Every little girl wanted like a bug in their lifetime. But I was like, oh my gosh, like I've always wanted a bug. Like I'd love to drive around in a yellow bug. Who wouldn't? That's fucking cute, okay? I'm gonna go look at this car. So I watched hours and hours and hours of videos on like what to look for when you're buying a car, how to like check everything in a car to make sure you're getting like a working vehicle. And then I had one of my friends who still liked me at the time. I had her drive me down. The car was like a solid 30 minutes away. It was in like Salt Lake City of Utah. Like it's like a big city, so it's kind of far away from where I live. And my friend drove me down there. And we get there, we're looking at the car. Finally, like the owner comes out and we're like looking at the car. We're like, oh, cool. Like looks nice. Besides that, it didn't look nice at all. If you've seen my car tour, you know what the car looked like. And I don't know why I thought it looked nice, but I was just excited that I had found a car that I could afford. But then we get in the car and she gives me the key to the engine and is like, all right, you can drive it around if you want. The whole time, I don't even think she knew I was 16 because I don't think this is like a legal thing to like sell a car to a 16. Anyways, it already happened, so there's nothing we can do now. So I turn the key, car won't start. Car is not starting. Like it's making the noise and then it's just not going. And I was like, this is just my fucking luck. But turns out, like, okay, turns out absolutely nothing. I kept turning the key and it wouldn't turn on. And like the lady was sitting in the passenger seat. She was like some 20-year-old girl who moved here from like the UK, I guess. And she was like, and I was like, my friend's in the back seat, by the way. She's like, what the fuck is going on right now? And finally I was like, you know what? I literally told myself, I was like, the next time I turn these keys, the car is gonna start. Stick the keys in, turn it, it starts sputtering, and I was like, oh shit, and then it turns on. What the fuck? So then I started driving it around the parking lot of the apartment complex that we were at, and then I was like, something don't feel right. My friend in the back seat's like, yo, something don't feel right. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I guess basically all 4 of the tires were flat. What are the odds that my friend had like a tire air pumper thing in her trunk? So we ended up filling up all 4 tires, which that was a process, how to learn how to fill up a tire in the parking lot of an apartment building. We were like watching YouTube, FaceTiming people, how do we fill up these tires? What the fuck is going on? And finally we fill up all 4, and then I was like, okay, like, is it alright if I just drive it around again? I want to make sure that they are good now. And she was like, yeah, whatever. And I go to start the car again, doesn't start. Keep trying, it's not starting. So I was like, okay, it's not starting. I talked to the lady, I was like, what should we do? And she was basically like, okay, I'm gonna have my friend bring over like his car battery like charger, and we're gonna charge the battery overnight, come back later, and like hopefully it will be running. And I was like, all right, sounds fair. Like, she hadn't driven it in a year, of course the battery was gonna be dead. So I went back home. I was really disappointed. I had already had the money like ready to go. It was in cash. I had cash. I was paying for this car in cash at 16. What the fuck is good? Oh, no. She hadn't charged the battery yet. The second time I came back, we jumped it. We decided that we were gonna jump it. We jumped it, we drove it around, and then after it still wouldn't turn on. And so basically I was under the impression, I was like, as long as like the engine is working and everything else is working, this is obviously just like a dead battery. I'll just buy a new battery for the car, you know? It's not a big deal. It's an old car, it's gonna need one anyways. Now this time she was like, okay, leave, I'm gonna get a trickle charger, we'll charge it overnight, hopefully you'll be good to go next time, you can just take it home. And I was like, sick, bro, like, all right, I'm down for this. So then I get a text, this is after the second visit. Basically the girl is telling me that they charged the battery up, but then when she was test driving it, she ran over a nail. And she was like, don't worry, like, I'll go get it fixed. Then I like text my friend, I'm like, hey, so sorry, do you mind taking me down to Salt Lake for the 3rd time? And she was like, bro, I can't. And I was like, that's not good. I couldn't ask my parents to drive me down there because they didn't know I was about to purchase a vehicle, you know? Like, I was in a sticky situation. Naturally, what do? I put $1,495 cash into a little backpack, and I take tracks downtown. Any downtown isn't safe. Like, I don't care where you're from. Any downtown, not a good place to be alone. I went alone because no one could take me, no one could go with me, so I was like, so I took tracks. I basically dressed in like this huge oversized hoodie and like baggy pants so that I looked less little and girly. Like, I was like,
you better fucking watch out, like, oh, beat your ass, you know?
That was what I was trying to go for. It worked because I didn't get mugged, so safety first. And from where the tracks like dropped me off, it was still like a solid mile walk to the, why do I keep saying the Accomplice building? Who the fuck? Okay. So I'm like holding my Google Maps out in front of me, like trying to navigate downtown, like trying to get there. I finally get to the apartment and drove the car around. It worked perfectly this time. I made sure to start it like more than once. And I told her, I was like, I'm ready to pay for it right now. And she was like, okay, like that'll be $1,600. And I was like, okay, hold up, wait a minute. And then I like listed off all my like negotiating stuff. And I was like, that's why you're gonna give the car to me for $1,495. Thanks. And she agreed. She was like, okay, I was gonna make you pay like $1,600, but since you like negotiated, I guess, like, I'll do that. And I was like, yeah, please don't ever do that again. We both honestly did not know what the fuck we were doing. And I basically get everything. She hands me the keys and I owned a car. Yay! I just remember getting in that car and just driving it and then stopping at the first stoplight and just crying. Like, I just started bawling because I was so happy that I had bought my own car. I did that all by myself. Mind you, both of my parents were out of town actually and had no idea I just bought a car. Basically, they ended up finding out. They were low-key pissed, but then again, how could you be that mad at your child for like buying a car? And now a lot of you guys have been commenting asking if I still have the car and if it's working for me and if I've had any problems with it. Here comes that half of the story. Okay, gotta focus it again. This is the most beautiful process. While editing this, I now realize how unsymmetrical my mouth is compared to my nose. Like, just look at that. You can't tell me that God fucked up somewhere. This part gets really sad. So I had my bug for about 3 months. It worked great. I was able to drive myself for the last month of my junior year. I made my car tour video. Everything was great. Everything was working perfectly. And then towards like the 3rd month, I remember I was driving to my friend's house and all of a sudden it felt like the gas like gave out and my brakes like weren't working. And I was like, what the fuck? But it was only for a second and then it like went back to normal and I was like, okay, that was strange. I went to Costa Vida and on my way back from Costa Vida, all of a sudden like the car starts beeping at me. Beep, 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 beep. And I was like, what's going on? First we were listening to the radio that was in the car. And then all of a sudden that turns off. My miles per hour stops working. The RPM stops working. And I was like, okay, what the hell? And it started beeping at me. Like my car started yelling at me while I was in it. And I was like, bitch, what do you want me to do? Like, we out here. I don't know. So we're pulling in to my friend's house. As soon as we like get it to the curb, it dies.
All right. Let's see. Well, isn't that great?
No way. Like, this did not just happen. This did not just occur. I was pissed. I was pissed. Luckily, I was with like literally like 6 of my guy friends and my boyfriend. So they all get out and they decide to like push my car into the driveway, which I have a video of. So I'll insert that here because I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, the driveway's gonna suck. Going.
Because I made them do all the work naturally. So after they pushed it into the driveway, luckily my friend's dad is like really into cars, so he had a trickle charger. He helped me like plug in my car and then he was like, okay, just unplug it when you guys leave. Hopefully you'll like be good to go. Luckily enough, like car started up just fine. I was like, cool. Like the battery just was like drained a little bit. And he was like, okay, like take the trickle charger, like charge it overnight. You should be good to go. And I was like, sick. I am sick also, if you can't tell, so. And basically, I live in a valley, so I live up here. Like, there's a lot of hills to get up. Like, there's no way to get to my house without going up a hill. And we're on this road, about to go up all these hills. All of a sudden, radio stops. And it starts beeping at me again. And I knew that when that happens, like, my gas would stop. Everything would stop. Basically, the car would shut down, but I would be in the middle of the road. We look at the hill and I'm trying to press on the gas and the gas gives out. Like the gas is not like really working at all. The brakes aren't really working because the power steering is turning off. Like if you've ever pressed on a brake or tried to move a wheel of a car that isn't on, that's what it was like. Basically, I turn on my hazards and I coast into a neighborhood and then it dies again. The car just shuts down. I ended up having to get it towed, which was like a whole experience in itself. We towed it to the front of my house And I trickle charged it for like 3 days straight. I was asking everyone I knew what they thought the problem was. We came down to the conclusion that the alternator was probably shot, that I probably like needed a new battery. We ended up going to O'Reilly's and getting like the alternator and the car battery tested. They said that I had a bad battery. They were like, oh yeah, you have a bad battery, probably because I think it was like one of the ones from Walmart, so it just wasn't good to begin with. And I was like, okay, cool, how much is a battery? And he was like, oh, it's just gonna be like $200. And I was like, $200? I got a battery, put the battery into the car, and then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's get the alternator checked just to make sure like I don't have a bad alternator too. So we took that to O'Reilly. He checked it, and sure enough, the alternator is shot. So he tells me the alternator is gonna be like another $200. About to lose my mind. Like I was taking all the money out of my bank account. I was like, have it. Fucking have it, man. Like, I don't even need it anymore. My boyfriend's brother ended up putting in the new alternator and the new battery. I drove it for an entire day, and then it broke down again. After I had just spent $400 to fix it, it broke down yet again. I don't know how to get it fixed now because it's gonna be even more money to have someone fix it. My best friend at the time was like, dude, I'm in a shop class at my high school. Like, drop the car off here. I'll talk to the shop teacher. We can work on it. And I was like, sick, because that will be free. And she was like, it'll be like really, like I'll get it done really fast. And I was like, okay. This is a whole like other story in itself, but I'm gonna tell it anyways because there's some tea involved here. I have the car towed to her high school, and after like 2 days, I was texting her. I was like, hey, so what's wrong with it? And she wasn't giving me like any like exact answer. Like she wasn't telling me what they were finding or like what was up with it. And she kept saying like, oh yeah, you'll have it back in like a day. You'll have it back in like 2 days. Like I'll give it back to you next week. You keep saying it's gonna take longer to fix, but what is wrong with it? And she kept giving me these vague answers. After a month of her having my car like in this shop, me not knowing what is going on with it, I need my car back. Like I don't care if you didn't, like if it's not fixed, I need it back so I can do something else with it or sell it or something. This made her like super upset. Like every time I asked her for my car back, she would get like really mad, and I was like, it's not your fucking car, man. She drops it off at my house, and all that she did was put in a new fuse box, because I guess I didn't talk to her because we were kind of having like a falling out. My mom was there when she came to drop off the key, and she basically said the fuse box was like corroded, exploded, I needed a new one. So they bought a new fuse box. I get the keys, and my boyfriend is also here with me again, and we come home, and my car's there, and I was like, fuck yeah, my car is here. I was already planning on selling it. So she told my mom that the car ran perfectly. Like she said that she had driven it around, that it was perfect. They fixed whatever problem it had, and I was like, okay, cool. My car was like really dirty, so I cleaned it out, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the car wash, I'm gonna get it washed so I can take pictures of it and list it. And this is where things get serious. We turned it on, and right off the get-go, the miles per hour wasn't moving, the RPMs weren't moving, the gas wasn't moving, and I was like, fixed it my ass. Okay, being like the dumb bitch that I am, I was like, eh. So we start driving to the car wash, which honestly wasn't that far away. And I'm driving, and then all of a sudden, it starts beeping at me, and the gas starts giving out, and I was like, and the car wash was at the bottom of a hill, and I was turning left. So basically all I had to do was get through this left light, turn left, and then coast down the hill until I got to the car wash. As soon as I'm pulling up to this green left turn light, it turns red, and I had to stop. I had to stop in the middle of the intersection, and I was like, well, fuck. The car dies. The car turns off. Engine kills itself. I was like, god damn. What are the odds, you know? What the fuck do we do? We're in the middle of an intersection. I literally could have just died. My friend had told me that this car was 100% fixed. She told me it worked. Like, I trusted her on that, and I drove the car that obviously she knew did not work because the miles per hour and like the RPMs didn't even work as soon as you turned on the car. If it would have died in the middle of the intersection, I could have gotten hit. People are honking at me because I'm not moving. And we look at the other like intersection. There's a police officer turning left, like he's waiting at the light. So we get out of my car and I'm like, I flag him down, and he comes, parks behind me, and like shuts down the lanes. And this other guy, this other random stranger next to me, he gets out of his car and basically is like, hey, what do we need to do? Like, you need help. How can I help? And I was like, some people, man, some people are just so nice. Like, basically the cop is like, where are you trying to go? It's like, I'm just trying to get to that car wash, which also doubles as a service center. So it was like also like a car shop. And I was like, I just need to get down there. Like, I can coast down the hill and turn in, it's fine. And he was like, okay, basically what we're gonna do is like, I'm gonna need your boy to come out here, and then we're gonna push your car, you're gonna steer it down the hill. Like I said before, my car was off, there was no power steering. Light turns green and they just start pushing me. They push me through this intersection, and then my boyfriend hops back in and we start going down the hill, right? The timing was so perfect. I literally coasted right into the shop, like right in front of the shop, and then my car like completely stopped moving. The guy came out, I explained to him everything, and they were like, okay, you know what, we'll take a look at it. And there's this guy named Trevor, like Trevor. He is a G, let me tell you that. He comes out and he was like, okay, let me look at your car, you know, opens up the hood, and he looks at the fuse box. And he's like, whoever put this in is literally an idiot. Like, I have never seen someone like fuck this up so badly before in my entire life. Because my friend had put this fuse box in. And he looks at me and he goes, see this, like brand new fuse box. It's already sparking because whoever put it in didn't screw this thing down. All it was screwing something down. Like, he didn't even have to pull it into the shop to fix this problem. Like, he screwed down the screws. Anyone can screw down a screw. And he literally just screws it down and he goes, okay, there you go. It's fixed. Like, it's gonna work now. Whoever, like, did your car, whoever fixed it, you should, like, sue them or something. There's no way they just accidentally didn't screw something down all the way, you know? And my car was fixed. He was like, no charge, like, you don't have to pay me. Whoever did that was an asshole, like, don't even worry about it. Yeah, the car worked fine after that, and I listed it on KSL, and literally the next day someone came and bought it. So this was kind of a story time on how I bought my own car, my first car at 16, and it was also kind of a story time of how my best friend almost killed me, so that's fine. So that is basically how I got my car, my experience having the car, what happened to it, and now I'm just driving the Prius again, so it's whatever. My leg is so asleep right now. Alright, quick relocation. I was sitting on the floor earlier and literally I can't even feel my legs right now, so that's tragic. If anyone actually is watching this and they want me to make an advice video or like answering your guys' questions, I love to give advice. I don't know if I'm good at it or not, but I like to think I'm relatively alright at it. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns of like that you want my opinion on or like help with, go ahead and comment them down below, and if I get enough comments, I'll make an advice video and I'll try to help you guys with anything that you guys need help with. Yeah, that was my story. Thanks if you stuck around to this point and actually watched the whole thing. It means a lot to me. I hope that was funny. I hope my tragic story was made you laugh today. I love you all.